Good afternoon, everybody. It's July 1, 2025, and I'm going to read a part 2 of Gena's testimony. Gena is Gena. She provided a testimony, part 1, back on May 23rd, 2025, and it was entitled Targeting Testimony Part 1, New York to North Carolina, New Neighbors Infiltration by Gena. So I've got a part 2 here. And she says, first of all, I want to thank everyone who watched and commented. One reason I'm writing about my experience is to hopefully for protection. The other is to warn citizens of the world that completely innocent people can be framed and possibly jailed or placed in an institution for absolutely no legitimate reason, just like Jessica Thomaston. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that many world governments and military are waging a war against their own citizens. My job has cameras everywhere. Sometimes they get tampered with. But what it seems like the perpetrators like to do is rely on citizen reports and pictures, which provide little to no context and virtually ignore the camera footage. The same goes for my apartment. The landlord will claim that my neighbors have done nothing wrong, yet utilized every opportunity to point out anything that I may have done wrong. I also doubt they would allow me to wear a body cam at work, although the responses would probably be humorous. All parties know full well that I haven't done anything wrong, which is why they work so hard to make me look bad. I think many or most of these people have been compromised and are afraid to do the right thing. Now that they've attempted various setups at my job in order to accuse me of inappropriate behavior, they will probably attempt to link this to me being mentally unstable. What do some of these setups look like? The person appears to be innocently holding the door open for you. You pass through the door normally, not thinking anything of it. I also tend to have my hands full, so how is it possible for me to be touching anyone? The next thing you know, people are acting angrily at you as if you've done something wrong. Another is people blocking your way around doors or tight spaces. This past Thursday, one of my coworkers, who is a teacher assistant to a cop's daughter, who receives instructions from her cell phone all day under the guise of lesson planning, was making a comment about a book she was reading about MPD. Go figure. I'm thinking, is that multiple personality disorder? This is happening in a federal child care program. This is where our tax dollars are going. To people who are busy targeting their coworkers and planning skits and setups instead of taking care of the babies and the toddlers that they're charged with. In my first testimony, I said there were various people who have infiltrated or have been turned at my job to assist with the targeting. One person was in finance. She was the one who started the accusations that someone was stealing supplies. She then proceeded to insert chaos by implementing various procedural changes that made getting basic classroom supplies difficult and inconvenient to acquire. I heard she left under circumstances that seemed suspect. Yeah, she was the one that was stealing the supplies and projecting it on to everybody else. I was also told by someone a couple of weeks ago that she was constantly attempting to control others and gain access to financial information as it related to the positions of others. In basic terms, she didn't want to stay in her lane. Another individual that I believe was hired to cause harm was a human resources person, HR. HR has access to everyone's personal information, Social Security, employment files, write-ups, etc. This person left, having not done the paperwork she was supposedly hired to do. In other words, in all this time that she was there, at least 6 months, I think, She didn't do a shred of work. Why are these kinds of people being hired, and who's doing the hiring? Well, I'm just going to tell you it's across the board, and this has nothing to do with targeting. This has to do with lazy people, entitled people, and many of these people are this way because of, one, their upbringing, two, society, hanging out on social media during the day, and last but not least, I have to mention the pharmaceuticals that they're taking that blunt their reactions and give them no motivation to do anything. The similarities I'm observing regarding most of the people who have been sent in to spread drama are as follows. Many times they're lazy or think that they're above doing the work that they're hired to do for the cover job. And in this case, it's childcare. If that's not the case, it's then they're too busy doing their real job that they were hired to do and simply don't have time to do the cover job. They are also control freaks with little or no real sense of humor. What they do tend to find is funny is the suffering of others. Well, that's a narcissist, a psychopath. They enjoy the suffering of others. These people have no conscience. They're emotionally immature. And these are the kinds of people that they hire to target people like you and I. What can people do to prevent this from happening? Unfortunately, I'm not sure. If innocent civilians around the world are going through this, then frankly, I don't know that there's anything anyone can do. I would say that it's always helpful to be as informed as you can. Perhaps if more people know about it, they won't join in the targeting of others. If someone tells you that they need your help to investigate someone, get their name and badge number and tell them you need to consult with your lawyer. Absolutely. That I've been saying that too. No, there's nobody that's going to come up to me and say, well, we need to investigate your neighbors. Although, hey, I wish they would. But no, it's not going to happen because I want your business card. I want to do a little research. I want to find out who you are. I don't care if you're wearing a badge. It makes no difference to me. So if anyone tries to get you to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, tell them the same thing. Law enforcement should not need to enlist the help of civilians. If they're asking you to do so, most likely it is because they're asking you to do what they would do is illegal that if they would do it themselves. So basically, if law enforcement is asking you to help and do something that is illegal, it's something that they don't want to do themselves because they don't want to get caught. They don't want to lose their jobs, and they'll be real quick to blame it on you too. I think if more people didn't get involved with targeting in the first place, that would go a long way in rendering these organized criminals powerless. If you find yourself in this situation, what can you do? And so she goes on to say, 1, find yourself some support from others who are targeted. Having people you can talk to and network with can be helpful. 2, try not to make any rash decisions. If you're thinking about moving, selling your home, or leaving your job, really think about whether or not you can withstand the disruption. Part of the targeting involves getting you to dismantle your own life, such as quitting your job, and or leaving your home. I have no problem leaving this place. 0. I will be infinitely better anywhere else I go. I promise. I will be infinitely better, even though it will likely cost me a lot of money to move. And I don't have a mortgage now. I don't have to pay property taxes. So wherever I go, I will likely have a mortgage and I will have to be paying property taxes, but it will still be infinitely better. I'll have more space. All my animals will be with me in the same house than here with a bunch of inhuman terrain team trespassing my 64 acres of land. So I get it. I understand. Wherever I go, I'm going to have less than half the amount of property. It is difficult to get another job or a place to live. You'll also have the added stress of figuring out the new routines that come with life changes. Well, that never bothers me. 3, find healthy ways to privately and safely express anger and other negative emotions. That's why we have YouTube. We can rant all we want here, right? And everybody will rant along with us. Why? Because anger and upset are the emotions those targeting us use against us. That's why we use humor here. We like to use humor here. What are perfectly normal emotions, especially given our predicaments, will be labeled as crazy. Some things that may help dissipate anger are exercise, meditation, prayer, venting to other targets occasionally, and sometimes sitting with the fleeting anger is what the anger is covering, like fear and sadness. For me, like, I like to joke about it and talk to these losers about what losers they are and how they're racking the karma, the negative karma. And I feel glad that all the bad stuff is going to be happening to them more than me. Find ways to keep your sense of humor or develop one. If you lose this, half the battle is lost. Find or develop some kind of purpose that isn't driven by money or ego. The people that I've met who have seemed to be the healthiest are those who try to give back in some small way. That's why I've got animals. Also, one book that helped me greatly with dealing with the difficulties in life circumstances in general is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. That is an oldie bestie book. That's been around for a long time. I really wish there were more people, TIs, nearby who are willing to get together so that people aren't so isolated. If the person living between Oslo and Carteret wants to keep in touch, or anyone else, I would be happy to. Just send your email address to Lorraine. I think she has my phone number. She says, yes, please use this testimony. She says, I changed a sentence in her part 2. Let's see. Okay, I didn't see this until now. I don't know what the sentence is, but it wasn't pointed out here. So that's the testimony that I'm reading on her behalf. And again, if you ever have a part 3, I'm happy to read your part 3 testimony. So basically, in this part 2, I'll read you a little bit about her part 1. She's currently living in Macon County, North Carolina. But this targeting basically happened back in New York. So New York to North Carolina. So she's in North Carolina now. She works at a child care center with children from 0 to 5 years of age. And pretty much every day is a nonstop merry-go-round of nonsense. So we continued here with her part 2. And she thanks everybody who commented on her part 1. It's very helpful. It makes people feel that they're not alone. When they share testimony, they feel validated when you comment. So I appreciate all the comments that you leave for all of these testimonies. It's very helpful, and it encourages other people to share testimony and not feel alone. And yes, it is protective, because you don't want to be totally isolated and have no one to share your story with. So you can share your story here. You can always email me. You can always leave me a comment under any of these videos. We can do the testimony either on phone, where I have your voice. Of course, there are time zone issues, and that sometimes becomes problematic. I've got a weird schedule here with taking care of so many animals. And or you can email me at alternativehomesteading@gmail.com and write out your testimony, whatever it is that you want to share. I very much appreciate it. Leave your comment down below. And thank you, Gena, for sharing your testimony. I'm going to sign off for now.